design pattern. Okay, and as Samira said in her Slack message, like this is going to be one of like the big lessons. Okay, and I mean that in the sense that we're going to learn a lot, but that like this is something that you're going to need to know and to use like pretty much the rest of your time here at Lambda. So we really want to hammer it in, make sure you're feeling good about it. If you haven't, please fork and clone the starter project that Samira also included. Again, we're going back to the hobby tracker where we designed all of the UI doing the auto layout stuff. So it's just that project, but it has it has all of the outlets and the IB actions connected for you, just so that we can spend some more time on the actual delegation design pattern for today. So let me go ahead then and show you what our learning objectives are for today. Let's see here, let's move on to the next slide. Come on. Okay, so our learning objectives for tonight are you should be able to use a segue to show a detail view when a table view cell is tapped. Okay, we've done that before, but we're just going to kind of go through it again tonight. You should be able to use a regular UIViewController to display a UITableView. Okay, you should be able to understand and explain the delegate pattern and why it is used. And you should be able to create a custom UITableView cell. Okay, those are the objectives for today. And we'll kind of go in a little bit of a different order as we go through it. But first off, I want to talk about the delegation design pattern. Okay, so we saw a little bit of the delegation design pattern when we worked on our knockout game app. Okay, so if you remember, and again, you can, if you like these analogies, you can take them to heart. If you don't, then you can think of different analogies. But the one that I talked about last time was, like a basketball game, right? As the basketball game is taking place at an arena, I'm sitting at my home, presumably listening to the radio or whatnot. Maybe I'm driving in the car listening to the radio. And the only way for me to know what's going on at the game is via the broadcasters, right? The guys who are there and they're announcing the game and whatnot. And so in a way, they're like my delegates, right? They're the ones that have gone in place for me. They're at the game and they can tell me what's going on. Okay, if you like politics and you often think of like delegates is like sort of someone that goes in representation of a greater whole to get information or to pass information, etc. So there are lots of different ways you can think of this. But it's this idea that when dealing with architectural, like when we're building out like an app that follows the principles of MVC, which is models, views, and controllers, generally we're trying to like decouple things and separate things into their own classes and only making classes worry about like the things that they're in charge of. Okay, so with the knockout game, right, we had the actual game that was taking place that was sort of the brains behind it. And then we had sort of the user, like the output, right? The statements that we'd print of like what was actually happening in the game, okay? Similarly, when we're building apps, we're going to build a lot of logic of things that are happening in the background, but then we need a way to display the results to the user on the view controller, okay? So we've got a controller who's the brain, and then we've got a view who's actually showing the user like what's going down, what's happening. And we need a way to be able to communicate from the brain to the view, okay? And we do that via a delegate. And so we make sure that like a controller or the brain is doing all of the things it needs to do. And then the views are in charge of displaying their data. And we don't combine those, right? So each sort of piece of this moving machine is in charge of their own thing, right? So that's another example, is like we have our brain and then we have like our arms and whatnot. And so our brain is going to pass messages to our arm. Our arm is in charge of like actually moving and doing stuff, but the brain needs to be able to pass information to our arms or to our other body parts, okay? So again, lots of ways that we can think of this, but hopefully you've kind of latched on to at least one of those examples as we go through this to make things make more sense, okay? So any questions, any like general questions about the delegation design pattern? Okay, so maybe actually after doing an example or whatnot, right? Maybe more questions will come up. So that's cool. Okay, so hopefully you guys, if you guys haven't had a chance to review the training kit material, please do so, because there are a lot of good videos and written content to help you better understand this concept of the delegation design pattern. Okay, so I don't know why I stopped the share. I want to continue sharing, but let's go ahead and let's open up the starter project that I sent you guys. Okay, and let me just give you a quick tour of what we've got going on here. Okay, so we've got our main.storyboard, which is what we did not on Monday, but we did it the previous Thursday when we did the auto layout lesson. This is when we designed that storyboard. Okay, so remember we added a nav controller, we have a table view controller, or rather I should say we have a view controller that has a table view on it, right? Remember we didn't actually drag like the UITableView controller. We did a view controller and then put the table view on top of it. Okay, so that requires additional setup, which we'll go through. Okay, we have our view for us to add new friends and their hobbies and their list of hobbies, and this is presented modally, okay? And then we have our detail view where if you tap on a cell, it takes us into this detail view that has a list of our friends' hobbies, et cetera, okay? So now we're actually gonna build all of the code behind this. And so where the delegate is going to come in is that our view controller here is going to be what is responsible for actually displaying our different friend objects, right? And then we have this add friend view controller, which is responsible for creating the friend object, okay? So what we need to do is we're gonna need a way to be able to communicate that as soon as I hit save on this add friend view controller, it lets the view controller, my table view, it lets it know that, hey, there's a new friend, update your cells so that we properly add this friend object, okay? So we'll get to that in a little bit. But that's gonna be the idea behind using this delegation design pattern, is being able to pass information over from one view controller to another via a delegate. Okay. All right. Again, let me just take a look at, we've added these view controller files. Okay. So again, this is part of the starter project that I sent you, is now we actually have view controller files associated with each of our storyboard scenes. And then I've also already connected all of the outlets and the IB actions for you. Okay, because I don't want to spend time doing that stuff. Hopefully you should already know how to create an IB outlet and an IB action. So all of those are hooked up for you. So on our friend detail view controller, we've got our name label, our hometown label, and our hobby list text view. Okay, on our add friend view controller, we've got all 5 of our text fields, and we also have IB actions for the cancel button and the save button. Okay. And then on our friend detail, we have outlets to our name label, our hometown label, and our hobby list text view. Okay, so let's go ahead then, and you see that I've separated these out into different folders. Okay, so I've got my view controllers folder, I've got my custom views folder, and then I've got my models folder. Okay. And generally when you're setting up like an MVC architecture, you'd want to build out these different files. That's maybe your models, your views, your controllers. In our case, we have a view controller, which is sort of going to act as a view controller, but also our model controller, which we'll get into deeper later. And then our custom views, which is going to be for our custom table view cell, right? Because remember on our main.storyboard, the table view cell that we set up last time is not one of the standard types, right? So we had to build our own custom table view cell. So we're going to get into setting that up as well. Okay, sorry, a lot of like precursor stuff before we're actually doing anything. Any questions about what we're doing today, what the app is supposed to do?
Hey, Johnny, one thing that I really didn't understand, or at least I didn't really catch on with the material, is what's the purpose of creating a custom view controller versus just using the standard? Like, what's the benefit of that versus just using what Apple gives you?
So you're saying putting like a table view on top of a view controller instead of just doing a UITableView controller?
Yes, correct.
Yeah, that's a good question. So for the purposes of our app, we could have gotten away with the UITableView controller, no problem, because like the layout that we're requiring of our app is literally the same as a UITableView controller would provide. But there may be some cases where you want to create a view controller that maybe the top half of the screen is like a photo or something, but then the bottom half is a table view. Okay, so table view controllers are meant to take up like the entire screen. Okay, whereas with when I put just a table view on top of a view controller, I can choose how much height I want that table view to take up. So if I only want it to be like a small table on the bottom, if I want it to take up half the screen, or if I want to take up the whole screen, I have that flexibility. But you don't get that when you use a UITableView controller. A UITableView controller is just for listing a table view, like full screen table view. So again, we are using a full screen table view, and so I could have used a UITableView controller, but I wanted you guys to see how we can create our own table view and whatnot. Okay. All right. So we know that we are involved in object-oriented programming, okay? And we know that the main thing that we're going to be passing around between all of these view controllers is some kind of friend, right? That has a name, a hometown, and then it has like a list of hobbies, okay? So instead of having like separate properties and whatnot that we're trying to pass around, let's put those into our own custom type, okay? And so we're going to create a model object. Okay, so let's go ahead and right click on our models folder. Okay, so right click and then do new file. And the reason I'm doing that is because it will save the new file that I add into this folder. Okay, so we're going to go to our models folder and do new file. And then we're going to do a new Swift file and hit next. And let's go ahead and call this friend.swift and hit create. Okay, so our main object that we're going to use then is going to be a struct, and let's go ahead and call it friend. Okay, what are the properties and the types that I need for my friend object? What do you guys think? Looking at like our storyboard scene and whatnot, what kind of information do I need to have on a friend object?
Hobby.
Okay, yeah, so we need to have their list of hobbies. Okay, so we'll say var hobbies, and this is going to be an array of strings, right? Because they're going to have multiple hobbies. Okay, what else?
Hometown.
Okay, their hometown. Okay, so let's go ahead and do var hometown. That's going to be of type string. Okay, anything else?
Food.
Say that again.
Favorite food, like food to eat, something.
Okay, well, we could have that. We probably don't need it for this app, right? Because we've already built out the UI. So what else do we need? Like based on our UI, what other information do we need as part of the object? Our name, right? So a friend is going to have a name, type string. Okay, that's it. That's our model. Okay, so a friend object is going to have a name, it's going to have a hometown, and then it's going to have a list of hobbies. Okay, do we have questions about that model? Pretty simple, right? Okay, So, so now that we've got that, let's go ahead then and hop over to our main.storyboard. Okay. Okay, so one thing that has not been set up in this starter project, and is something that Sammy brought up, is that currently we have a table view on top of a view controller. Okay, so what we need for that view controller to be able to give us all of the proper delegate methods and data source methods for like number of rows and number of sections and cell for row at, is we need to make sure that this view controller is the data source for the table view. Okay, and here's how we do this. So I've got my table view selected. Okay, and again, you only have to do this if you don't set up a UITableView controller. So if you just put a table view on top of a view controller. So what we're gonna do is, with our table view selected, I'm gonna control drag up to my view controller name. Okay, so hobby tracker here, control drag. Okay, and then we're gonna create an outlet, and this is just like an internal outlet to the storyboard. And we're going to set my view controller as the data source for the table view. Okay, so just click on data source. Okay, and then if I needed to implement like the table view delegate methods, I would do the same thing. So I'd control drag from table view to the view controller, and also set my view controller up as the delegate for the table view. Okay, in our case, we're only going to be using the data source methods. So that's all I need for now. Okay, so again, looking at this, you should be able to use a regular view controller to display a UI table view. Okay, that is one piece of that, is that when you put a table view on top of a view controller, you need to make sure that the view controller is set up as the data source for the table view. And we'll get to that in a minute of why that's important. Okay. Okay, did everyone get that data source link set up?
Can you just do it one more time, Johnny?
Yeah. Let's see, let me remove this. Okay, so you have your table view selected, control drag from the table view up to the name of the view controller, okay? And then you're going to click on data source. So we're going to create an outlet that the view controller is the data source for the table view. Okay. So with that set, let's go into our view controllers folder, and we're going to go to our friends table view controller. Okay. So again, this was added for you, but see that our class here, our subclass is a UIViewController, right? We have a UIViewController, but we also have an outlet to our table view, okay? Internally in the storyboards, I set the view controller as the data source for the table view, okay? But then UITableView data source, so the thing that we just set, if I look it up here in the documentation, UITableView data source, okay? This is a protocol, okay? These are the methods adapted by the object you use to manage data and provide cells for a table view, okay? So I'm making sure now, because my view controller has a table view on it, I need to adopt and conform to the protocol UITableView data source. That's the only way I can feed any information from my view controller over to my table view, okay? So here we're adopting the protocol, okay, UITableView data source, okay, and then I have my two required TableView data source methods, okay. Who can tell me what this method is what this method is meant to do? What's the purpose of this method here?
Give you the number of rows.
How many cells?
Yeah, so the number of rows, the number of cells that my table view should have, okay? And what is the purpose of this method?
It allows you to reuse cells whenever you start scrolling.
Okay, so it allows us to reuse cells. and more importantly, to like actually give information to the cells, right? So that they don't all display the same thing. But we're going to reuse them and display our data. Okay, those are the two required data source, the required UITableView data source methods. Okay, if I don't have these, right, if I comment, come on, if I comment these out, right, I'm going to get an error and it says, hey, you said you adopted this protocol, but you're not conforming to it, right? And so then I can add the protocol stubs, right? So those are the two required methods that we must implement in order to properly conform, okay? So go ahead and comment these again. Okay. So those are the steps for setting up a table view on top of a view controller, okay? So step one is, you know, add VC, add the view controller as data source in main.storyboard, right? So drag table view to, let's do control drag from table to view controller. Okay, so that's step one. And then step two is adopt and conform to UITableView data source and UITableView delegate if necessary. Okay, so looking at this learning objective, you should be able to use a regular UIViewController to display a UITableView. Those are the two steps that you must take. Okay, and then of course you actually have to implement these methods, but those are the steps to actually set it up, and then everything else is the same as always. Okay, do we have questions about either of those steps? Okay, cool. So before we can actually populate this table view, we need to actually build out like our custom table view cell, right? So we already built it out in storyboards, but now we actually need to have a custom subclass of UITableViewCell, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and let's right click on our custom views folder and go to new file. And if I'm trying to subclass a UITableViewCell, which of these options do I want to pick?
The Cocoa Touch.
Cocoa Touch class, right? So whenever we're subclassing, we're gonna select the Cocoa Touch class option, okay? So I'm gonna make this is gonna be a subclass of UITableViewCell, right? Because we're creating our own custom cell type. And let's go ahead and call this friend TableViewCell. Then hit next and create. Okay, so now we've got this class friend TableViewCell, which is a subclass of UITableViewCell. Okay, so we can go ahead and we can actually clear out all of this boilerplate code because we don't need it. Okay, let's have you raise your hand when you're caught up to this point. Let's see, Zach, it looks like you're maybe trying to talk to me. I can't hear you though. I don't know if your mic is broken. It doesn't look like you're muted, but I can't hear you. Can anyone else hear him? No?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. All right. Okay, so we've got our friend TableViewCell. Okay, so before we do anything else, let's open up our main.storyboard in our assistant editor so that I can have them side by side. Okay. And what we want to do is we've got our prototype cell here, but because we want this to be our custom subclass, okay, we're going to need to set that in the identity inspector. Okay, so make sure you have your friend cell selected, and then you're going to click on your identity inspector right here. Okay, and then make sure, oh, I think the starter project actually already has it, but go ahead and set that to your friend TableViewCell if it's not already set. Okay, so what that will allow us to do then is now we can create some outlets for our different labels here. Okay, so let's go ahead and create an outlet for our name label. Okay, name label. Let's create one for our hometown label. Okay, and then we'll create one for our hobbies label. Okay, any questions about how to create outlets? We all good there?
Can you hear me now, Johnny?
Yep, I can.
Okay, so when I made a file under the custom views folder, the title of the folder is lit up red. Does that mean anything, or is that not a big deal? It's working. It's fine. It's working. But when I click on the file within the folder name goes from white to red, and I wasn't sure if that was anything.
No, that generally means that the file is missing, which would be unexpected. Because remember, what's happening here is this is sort of like if you were to actually look at our project in a Finder window. If I go here to development and then my hobby tracker, right? Like all of that is like saved in the actual folder hierarchy. And so if it's highlighted red, it usually means like, hey, like I've got this cached memory of like what this folder used to be, but the folder doesn't actually exist inside of like the directory. So I would double check and make sure that the folder is still there in the directory itself.
I'll check that.
Okay. Okay.
I have a question. What is the identifier for the friend cell?
I think it's friend cell. Yeah, right here, friend cell. Okay, so what information is my friend's table view cell supposed to display to our user?
Friends you've added.
Okay, so friends I've added. So we could say that each cell represents a friend, right? Like on our table view, each cell is going to be a friend, okay? So let's go ahead then, and let's add a property here on our friend table view cell of type friend, okay? So we're gonna say var friend of type friend, and we're gonna make this optional, right? Because initially it's gonna have an initial value of nil, because we're gonna set it later. Okay. But when I do set it, okay, so when friend has been set, let's go ahead and put a did set in here. Whenever our friend is set, then we want to update all of our labels, right? Update labels with friend. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's create a function that will update my labels with the information from my friend, okay? So we're just going to create a private func here, okay? And we're going to call this update views. Okay, and let's go ahead, and because our friend object is optional, I want to deal with the nullability. If I don't have a friend, there's no point in updating my views. So let's go ahead and do guardlet friend equals self.friend, otherwise return. Okay. So at this point, if I've gotten to line 27, I know that I have a friend object. Okay, so now I can use the information from the friend object to actually populate my labels. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to set name label dot text equal to my friend dot name. Okay, so we're sort of mapping our like internal object to something that the user can actually see, right? So I'm giving my name label text, I'm setting that equal to the friend dot name. Okay, for our hometown label dot text, it's going to be equal to friend dot hometown. Okay, and then for our hobbies label, remember this is just on our cell, it's just showing the number of hobbies. So we're going to do hobbies label dot text is equal to, and let's go ahead and interpolate our friend dot hobbies dot count. Okay, and so here where we put this comment for updating our labels, let's go ahead and actually call our function. Okay, so self.updateViews. Okay, so there's a little bit more work when we're using our own custom table view cells, right? It's not as easy as just, in cell for row at saying cell.textLabel.text equals this, right? We have to kind of create our own subclass that will do all of that stuff. Okay, but in our case here, we have a lot more flexibility because now I can update the information on 3 different labels instead of just 2, which is the maximum that the Apple cells give you. So. Okay, any questions?
I have a question.
Yeah.
So how does that update views that function? How does that know? Or how did it get access to the friend name? The friend properties in the class we made earlier.
Right.
How does it?
Yeah, we haven't done that yet, right? So we
okay.
Right here we have a friend object that's eventually going to its initial value is nil, right? So until we actually pass a friend over to the friend table view cell, we're not going to call our update views. Right? So we're not going to update this until we actually have a friend.
Oh, okay. So we do that in the did set.
Yeah, so in the did set, we're going to call self.updateViews, but we're going to set the friend on our table view controller. And that's what I'll show you next.
Okay. All right.
Okay. All right. Am I good to move on from here? Any other questions?
Johnny,
Yeah.
sorry. So I just noticed that I think I may have done the labels wrong. When I dragged it over, I have an additional wording from yours. I have weak instead of, it says weak var instead of just var, the IB outlet.
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay,
Yeah, just leave it the way it is. That's fine.
good deal.
Okay. Anything else on here?
On mine, it says I have a use of undeclared type friend whenever I made the variable.
Okay, so in your model, do you have your friend model here?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, go ahead and do like a command B.
Yeah, so I just had a typo in here. That's what it was.
Okay, cool. Okay, so that's the configuration for the cell itself. Okay, so now we're all done with this screen. Okay, so let's go back to our table view controller here. Okay, and what we need to have is let's give ourselves just like an initial data source here. Okay, and we're going to say var friends. Okay, and this is going to be an array of friend objects. And let's go ahead and just build out a couple of friends. Okay, so I'm going to create a friend. We'll say we've got, you know, Jimmy, hometown, LA, and hobbies, basketball, frisbee. I have to let my wife know that our dog just got out. I'm down in my basement and I can see her like walking past the windows. Okay. Let's go ahead, let's just have one friend for now, it's fine. Okay. So in our number of rows in section, how many rows do we want to have?
Just one.
Okay, just one for now, but if I want it to be dynamic.
It'd be friends.count.
Yeah, we want it to be however many friends we have in our array, right? So we're gonna say friends.count. Okay, so now here, this is where we're actually gonna do the setup of what each cell should contain, okay? Well, remember, this is sort of like the boilerplate code that Apple gives us when we've got like the boilerplate code and we just uncomment it. We have this instance of this cell, and then we're just returning the cell, okay? What is the type on this cell? If you option click on cell, what is the type of my cell? Right here.
UITableView
Yeah, so just a UITableView cell, okay? Is our cell that's supposed to be displaying our friends, is it just a UITableView cell?
No, it's a friend cell.
It's a friend cell, right? Because the only way that I can access like my hobbies label, my name label, and my hometown label is on the subclass of my friend TableView cell. Okay, so what I need to do is I need to conditionally downcast this cell. So I'm going to say guardlet cell equal TableView DQ reusable cell with identifier friend cell as friend TableView cell. Okay, as friend's TableView cell. Otherwise, we'll just return just an empty instance of UITableView cell. Okay, I don't really expect this else to ever happen, because I know, right? Because we set the prototype cell's type to friend TableView cell. Okay, I know that, but the compiler doesn't know that. So we do have to handle that optionality. Okay, so remember our cell has a friend object. Our table view has a list of friends, okay? So I want the cell to display whatever friend I have in my current list, right? So let's go ahead and we're gonna create a friend object, okay? So let friend equal, and we're just gonna get the friend from our array, okay? So I'm gonna say let friend equal my friends, okay? And which friend do I want to access from my array using subscript notation? Do I want to do just like friend 0, friend 1, or 2, or 3, or 4? How do I make that dynamic?
Be friends.count.
Okay, well that would return an integer, right? I want to actually have a friend object here.
Index path.row.
Yeah, so index path.row, right? Because the index path.row is going to be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, depending on how many cells I have. So that's how I make sure that this friend is going to be dynamic according to like the number of that friend in my data source. Okay, so we're going to do friends at index path.row. Okay, so now if I say cell.friend equals friend, what's going to happen? I just set friend on my cell. So what do I expect to happen? What code did we just write? What's going to happen as soon as I set that?
Should start populating.
Let's look, right? What happens when friend has been set?
Yeah, be updating.
Yeah, so then we're going to call update views and we're going to populate all of the labels with the information from the friend. Okay? This is key. This is a foundational concept, okay? When it comes to iOS programming, is being able to pass objects, right? Object-oriented programming, being able to pass objects between views, okay? Or view controllers. And in this case, just from our view controller to our view. Okay. So let's go ahead and run this, and then I'll give you guys a break. Assuming that the starter project. Oh, what did I do? I probably removed something in the starter project that I wasn't supposed to. Hobby count label. Hold on, let me check something. Is everybody else seeing the same issue?
No, mine's different.
Is it working, or you see a different issue?
No, it completely failed for me. It says command compiler Swift source failed with a non-zero exit code. Not sure what that means.
Okay, yeah, we'll take a look at it. Sorry guys, I probably removed something that I shouldn't have. Oh, I did. Well, actually, no, the problem is that I've duplicated. I deleted the file that already had outlets set. So the storyboard has outlets that are referencing like outlets on a file that I deleted from the project. So I'll make sure to fix that in the next starter project, but you guys will have to deal with it for now, okay? So jump with me over to main.storyboard. Okay, we're gonna look at each of these different labels that we have. So let's go ahead and right click on, well actually no, let's click on friend cell here, and then let's go to the connections inspector. Okay, and you should see that you have an outlet. So it says friend table view cell does not have an outlet named hobby count label. Okay, so go ahead and just X that one out. Okay, does everyone see that?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead and remove that one. Okay, so it's saying, hey, in the storyboard, you said that there's an outlet for a hobby count label, but your actual like Swift file or your class file does not have that outlet. So there's a mismatch, okay? Okay, so this is what you should see when you run the app. Okay, so if you see this, let's go ahead and have you raise your hand. Then I'm gonna send you on break and then help anyone who's not seeing theirs work.
Mine isn't working. It's
Yeah,
just
neither is
something-
mine, but I messed up the code somewhere.
Okay.
Mine's good.
All right.
Still loading. It's slow.
Yeah, that happens sometimes. All right, guys, I'm going to give you 5 minutes for those of you who need help. Let's have you share your screen. So let's go ahead and start with Aaron Peterson.
Can you see it?
Yep.
Okay. Can you see the simulator?
I can't. It looks like you might just be sharing only Xcode with me. Instead of like your whole screen, you're sharing just like one window.
Okay.
So, yeah, I can't see simulator anywhere.
Okay. So you can see the.
Yeah, I can see.
Okay. Yeah, it's just a blank cell. It's not showing.
Okay.
Maybe I did something in the DQ.
Yeah, go to your friend's TableViewCell real quick. Not your view controller, your TableViewCell. Your custom view. Okay, that's right. Oh, sorry, I just saw the problem. Go back to your table view. And on line 27, you're returning 0 rows.
Oh, okay. Yeah, must have missed that part.
Yeah, you want to return your friends.count.
Okay, great. There we go.
Nice work.
Great, thanks.
Yep. Let's see. Aaron Lopez, did you get yours figured out?
No, I didn't hear. There's mine. I know this is supposed to be.
Okay, so friends, you need to have, your closing bracket, and then you need to do an opening and closing bracket.
On friends, right there. Oh yeah, that's it. Cool.
Yep.
Thanks.
Nice. Okay. Did anybody else have anything they needed to show me?
Yeah, Johnny, I do.
All right, let's check it out.
So, I'm not sure if I'm able to see this one, but when I go to the errors, this is the one that comes up.
Let's see. Unexpected input file. Go to your project navigator for me. Yeah. Go ahead and do Command B for me.
It just straight fails.
Okay. At the top of your file navigator pane, click on the button that's to the. Well, actually, yeah. Go to here and go to Signing and Capabilities. That shouldn't be your issue.
Yeah, because that one comes up as a warning or kind of like a.
Right.
It's really odd because when I do go and try and build it, I do get check marks for everything. What do you call it? When I try and run it, it does give me a different. Well, it was giving it to me, so I don't know what's going on now. But it used to give me like these little green marks right next to it saying what worked, and then at the very end, it showed me this, which is which I've never seen before.
Yeah.
But the odd thing is this part here, I don't know why this is showing up. This is supposed to be my external hard drive, but this is saved onto my development folder.
Yeah, that's, so did you fork and clone this to your computer?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, can you show me in Finder where it's at?
Yeah, definitely.
I actually had a problem with creating the friend.swift file under models folder. Didn't want to create it. It was like, it would give me like some kind of noise thing and I couldn't tap on it. So there was the friend.swift there that's saying the issue with that.
Yeah, so usually you'll hear that sound when you try clicking on a folder that like doesn't actually exist in the directory.
So here's the main development folder.
Okay.
I have it right here.
Hobby Tracker starter. Okay, click on the Hobby Tracker directory. Go back to Xcode. You're missing a bunch of stuff. You should have.
Johnny, I had that same issue with missing files in my hobby tracker.
Huh.
Yeah, so that's the problem, is that the files like I don't know where the files are actually living.
Are they using Hobby Tracker or Hobby Tracker Part 2?
Part 2? Should be Part 2. Oh, actually, maybe I am using the wrong one. No, is it?
Yeah, this Hobby Tracker Part 2 starter, that's the right one. But your files are not. Okay, so go ahead and back on Xcode. Let's right click on your custom views folder and go to show in Finder. Okay. Right click on your friend TableViewCell.swift file and go to show in Finder.
Got a different one.
Why is it saving this to the practice UIViewController?
Yeah, that's definitely on. Because I don't think I even did one.
Yeah, where
this is supposed? Yeah, this one's on my hard drive, so I don't know why if they kicked everything over to my hard drive. That's odd.
Yeah, I don't know. But that's your problem, right? Is that it's trying to build, but it's like, hey, I can't find these files that you're referencing.
Yeah,
they're like inside of another directory.
Okay. Well, I'll just should I just erase this one and then reclone it just to get it on here?
Here, I'll zip up my project in its current state and then send it to you guys. So for any of you that are having this issue, can just work from like where we're currently at.
Here we go. Thank you, John.
Yeah. That's pretty weird. That saving's like the wrong, like the wrong directory completely. Okay. So let me just zip this up for you guys really quick.
Johnny, is there a way for me to, like, for future reference, to try and, I guess, port everything over to the correct directory, like stop it from doing what it's trying to do? Like, it's odd. I don't understand why it's saving it in the first place, but.
I mean, it's possible that when you did file, well, let's see. So if I was here and you did file, new file, it's just like add a pretend, like a dummy file.
Yeah, I think that could have been it, because
if you have anything else selected here,
yeah,
then it's going to save into that directory.
Gotcha.
Right?
That's fine.
That it's saving, like generally by default, it should save in that directory, but if for some reason you selected something weird, it saved it to that. So
Yeah,
what you do, if you want to fix it, is go and find all of the files wherever you saved them and drag them into the right directory. But I'm just gonna zip up a folder and send you what you need.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's go back to this showing Finder. Hobby tracker. Tracker, starter, compress, and get that to you here. Okay. All right, I'm uploading that to just our main channel. Yeah, it's sort of weird, right? Because you could still see the files in here, and that's because like this Xcode like navigator pane, like it saves the file path to the file itself. But then when you actually try to build and compile, it's only going to build and compile from the folders that it has in its own directory. And so you're trying to reference like these weird file paths to things that are not part of your project. And that's why it won't build. So, okay. All right, so let's go to let's shoot over to our friend's table view controller, okay? And I'm gonna actually clear out this, this array, okay? Because ultimately we want our list of friends to come from whatever friends we add via like the add friend view, right? Okay, so we're gonna empty that out so that we don't have like this stale data in there. Okay, and let's spend some time talking about our add friend view controller. Okay, so remember our table view is responsible for displaying friends. Okay, the add friend view controller is responsible for actually creating those friend objects, okay, via the user input, whatever they put in these text fields. And as soon as they hit the save button, then we want to create a friend, okay? So let me pull up. Where did that go? Okay, so yeah, so let's go ahead and build this functionality in then. So when the user hits the cancel button, essentially what we want to do is we just want to dismiss the view controller, right? If we hit cancel, then we just want to dismiss back to the friend table view controller. Okay, so let's go ahead and just call dismiss here. Animated true, completion nil. Okay, if they hit the cancel button, we're going to dismiss. Okay, well, if we hit the save button, this is where all of the magic is going to happen, right? Just like with our knockout game when we said like as soon as we hit the play function, that's when stuff actually happens. Okay, nothing really needs to happen until the user hits the save button. Okay, so what we want to do in here is we want to, you know, harvest user input, okay, and then use user input, harvest user input, validate the data, and then create friend. Okay, here at least initially, right? So let's go ahead and let's harvest the user input. Okay, so we want to make sure that they've actually put some information into the text fields. So let's go ahead and say guardlet name equal name text field dot text. Okay. and let hometown equal hometown text field dot text. Okay, and then also as part of the validation of that data, I want to make sure that neither of those is an empty string. Okay. Not only are they not nil, but they are also not empty strings. Okay. If any one of those conditions is true, then I want to hop out. Oh, let's see, this should be hometown. I want to abort. I don't want to create a friend if we don't have a hometown and we don't have a name, okay? The reason that I want to abort, right, is because those properties are not optional objects, are not optional properties on my friend object, right? So I'm validating the data. Okay, and so let's go ahead and let's create a friend. We'll deal with the hobby stuff after, but I'm going to say var friend is equal to friend. Let's go ahead and pass in our name, our hometown, and then for the hobbies, let's just give it an initial array, an initial empty array. Okay, and I'm not going to require, remember, I just said that I have an array of hobbies. I'm not requiring that they put exactly 3 hobbies, right? So maybe they only want to put 1 and then hit save, and that's fine, okay? So let's go ahead then and validate or harvest the information from my hobby text fields and append those hobbies as needed, okay? So let's go ahead and say if let hobby1 is equal to hobby1 text field dot text, and that is not an empty string, right? So hobby1 is empty. Then let's go ahead and append friend.hobbies.append hobby1. Okay, and we're going to do the same thing for hobbies 2 and 3. So I'm actually just going to copy this and paste it twice. Okay, and then we're going to do hobby 2, and hobby 2. And just for fun, let me show you guys a cool trick. So if there's ever something that remember you can always right click something and like refactor, rename. But some other thing that you can do is you can actually add multiple cursors. So if you place your initial cursor wherever you want it and then hold down Control Shift and then click, and that will add another cursor in. Okay, so now I have 3 cursors, right? So then I can do hobby 3 here. Anyway, it's just a cool little trick, but you might find it just as easy to refactor or rename. Okay, and then to get out of that, you'll just hit escape. Or
did you do that trick, Johnny?
Yeah, so place your initial cursor, and then you're gonna hold down Control Shift, and then just click wherever you want to add an additional cursor.
Do we need to change the text fields number?
Yes, yeah, we do. Good call. Hobby 2.
Hey, Johnny, I'm getting some errors for the not hometown and is empty or else. So I'm getting expected else after guard condition.
Yeah, do you have a guard statement up here?
Oh, yep, I do.
Okay, and then do you have commas after each condition?
Yes. Oh, actually, no, I'm not after empty. And then the last one, oh, actually, never mind. That was it. Thank you.
Cool. Okay. Does this make sense what we're doing here? So we're gathering user input. We're validating the data, making sure that none of the strings are like empty strings. If they are, then we're gonna abort, okay? And then once we've validated, then we can use that to create a friend object. Okay. So if I were to leave the code the way that it is, I would immediately create a friend object and then discard it, because I'm not doing anything with it, right? I'm creating a friend, but it's not gonna like populate my table view or anything, okay? And this is where this idea of, if you think like to the basketball example, right? We've got the game happening, we've got the announcers, and we've got me, okay? So let's say that I'm the view controller, sort of waiting, listening to hear what's going on at the game, but I have not properly set up like any sort of delegate to tell me what's going on at the game, okay? And so I don't know when someone scores a basket, I have no idea because I don't have a delegate that's set up, okay? Similarly here, we've created a friend object, but the table view has no idea about it, right? Has no idea what just happened, okay? So this is where we're gonna set up, this is where we're actually gonna use the delegation design pattern, okay? So step number 1 of the delegation design pattern. Okay, there are 2 parts. There are sort of 2 parties here. We have the delegator, okay? And we have the delegate, okay? Okay, step 1 for the delegator is we're gonna create a protocol, create a delegate protocol. Okay, so let's go ahead and do this together. So let's create a protocol here. And let's call it add friend delegate. Okay, and remember protocols just simply have like the general definition of a function or whatever it's going to be called. We don't actually say what kind of logic it's going to contain. So this is going to have one function, and we're just going to call this new friend added, and we're going to pass in a friend object. Okay. Step 2. We're going to create delegate property on delegator file of type delegate. Okay. So here, after our IV outlets, let's go ahead and say we've got a var delegate of type add friend delegate, optional. All right, so these are going to be my basketball broadcasters here. Okay, step 3, call methods on delegate when necessary. Okay, so as soon as the save button is tapped, okay, and after I harvest and validate all of the data, my broadcasters, my delegate, is going to see it and let me know, hey, a new friend was just added. This is the friend that was just added. Okay, so I'm going to pass in that friend that I just created. Okay. Those are the 3 steps for the delegator. Do we have any questions about any of these 3 steps?
So only 3 hobbies for each friend, right?
Correct.
Okay, good.
Yeah, up to 3.
I've got an error that came up somewhere. I've got a sea of red on here right now. I'm just looking for my brace or something that I must have misplaced.
Yeah, same. Can you scroll down just a little bit, Johnny?
Sure. Let's see.
Right there is good. Yeah.
Can you explain one more time what it does? The delegate question mark dot new friend added. Where does it add the friend to? Where do we use the function?
Sorry, ask that question one more time.
So we created the protocol, right? When we described the function new friend added. And so what is the delegation? What does it do with it?
Yeah, so we haven't gotten to that piece yet, right? So the delegate is still actually nil at this point, right? Because I haven't set the delegate, okay? But ideally, right, what this is going to do is it's going to pass, whoever my delegate is going to be informed about this new friend being added, okay? So in our case, we're going to make our table view be the delegate, okay? So that the table view can know as soon as the add friend, the save button on add friend has been tapped, right? Because as soon as a friend has been added, we want to update my table view with the new friend that we just created, right? So I need to pass that information back to the table view, okay? Because the table view is what actually has the array of friends on it. The add friend view controller, it doesn't care about any other friends. It doesn't care about the array of friends. Its only primary responsibility is to create a friend object, okay? But once it does that, we need it to pass that friend over to my table view so that my table view can display it, okay? So our table view is going to be the delegate for this. We just haven't set it up yet, right? And that's going to be this next piece, right? So those are the first 3 steps for the delegator, okay? Write these down, commit them to memory, okay? This is literally going to be a muscle memory thing of just like, okay, I need to do this, then I need to do this, then I need to do this, and eventually it'll start making sense. I realize that this is like really confusing, and don't feel bad. Like I had finished my like entire coding program and been like working like full-time as a developer for like a few months before I was like, oh, delegates finally make sense to me, okay? But hopefully having like these steps of like, this is what the delegator has to do and this is what the delegate has to do will hopefully help kind of cement that process in. Okay. Am I good to move on from here? Any other questions?
I had a question. Are delegates unique to Swift and Xcode, or is this something found in other languages?
Other languages have delegates as well. Yeah, the delegate design pattern isn't necessarily unique to Swift. Delegate design pattern. Okay, so let's go ahead and implement the steps on our delegate. Okay, those are steps 1 through 3 for the delegator. Okay, so now let's go to the delegate. In our case, it's going to be our table view controller. Okay. I should label this as setting table. All right, so these are the steps for the delegate, okay? Step 1, adopt and conform to the delegate. Okay. And you can do this in an extension, right? So let's go ahead and write an extension on our friend's table view controller. Okay, and we want to adopt our new delegate, our add friend delegate. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's add our protocol stubs. There it is, new friend added. Okay, so this is the method that is going to be run when the add friend view controller calls delegate.newFriendAdded. Boom, the code is going to jump to here. Well, look where we are. We're on our friend's table view controller, which is perfect because I have the friend that I just created, and now I can add it to my friends array. So let's go ahead and we're going to say friends.append friend, and then we're going to call table view reload data. Okay, go ahead and reload your data with the new friend object. Okay, there's one more step. Okay, see, there's only actually 5 steps to setting up a delegate, right? 3 on the delegator side, 2 on the delegate side. Set self as delegate when delegator is created. Okay. So what we need to do here is when the add friend view controller is presented, we need to assign the table view controller as the delegate for the add friend view controller. Okay. And what we need to do is we need to do that in a prepare for segue. Okay. So let's go to our prepare for segue method up here. Okay, we've done this before, but the first thing that we want to do is we want to check and say, hey, if our segues identifier is equal to, okay, and then you would go ahead and you would check this in the storyboard of what segue is going to segue to this add friend view controller. Okay, so let's go to main.storyboard. Let's click on the segue that goes from our table to our add friend. Holy smokes. Okay, right here. Come on. Okay, so add friend modal segue. So go ahead and copy that, Command C. Go back to your friend's table view controller. Open quote, paste. Okay. Okay, so first we want to validate that like we're segueing to the right view controller. And if we know that, then we could say, you know, if let add VC equals segue.destination, right, wherever the segue is headed as an add friend view controller. Okay. So now I have that instance of the add friend view controller, which in this case is our delegator or delegate. What's the add friend view controller?
Delegator.
It's the delegator, right? So now that I have access to my delegator, I can set myself as the delegate for the delegator, okay? So we're going to do add vc.delegate is equal to the self. Okay. So now my table view controller is going to be the assigned delegate so that as soon as the add friend view controller, as soon as I hit the save button there, It's going to call over to my delegate and say, hey, here's a friend for you. And the person who's on the other side, right, is my TableViewController. That's going to go ahead and it's going to reload its TableView cells. Okay, so that's step number 2 here. Set self as the delegate when the delegator is created.
So I have a question. What if you don't have a prepare for segue function? Say like you're in the same view and you want something to be another object to be a delegate for something else, but you're not really segueing into a different view controller.
Right. Yeah, so that's a good question. If you're on the same, if the delegator and the delegate are both part of the same class, then you can just set, you know, this view.delegate is equal to self, right? Because they're both part of the same class. So you only need to prepare for segue if the delegator and the delegate are like separate classes. Does that make sense? Cool. Okay, so again, 5-step process for the delegate design pattern. Make sure that you have these written down. Delegator file. Step 1, create a delegate protocol. Okay. Step 2, create a delegate property. And step 3, call the method on the delegate when necessary. So in this case, when the new friend actually gets added. Okay, questions about delegator responsibilities? All good? Okay, so 2 more steps. Let's go to our delegate. Step 1, adopt and conform to the delegate. Okay, and then set self. So here's our adopt and conform here. And then step 2, set self as the delegate when the delegator is created. Prepare for segue. Delegate is equal to self. Okay, let's run it. Let's make sure it works. Come on. Simulator is being broken. It's cool. What? I have to install. Sorry, guys. Not really sure if like Xcode updated itself since we started this project or what, but.
Yeah, there was an update on it today.
Oh, was there? That's lame. It's weird that it would need to install them like right now, but whatever. All right, let me give you like a 3-minute break. And then our last half an hour we'll be done like in probably 10 minutes, but then we can spend the last 20 minutes reviewing whatever we need to. So go ahead and take 3.
Johnny, can you go back to add friend view controller?
I can't. Xcode is still installing some stuff.
No worries, never.
Johnny, do you know why when I hit the save button, it doesn't close that window, but it still saves it?
Yep. Yeah, we need to add 1 more line. Thank you. I forgot about that.
Because it works. I just have to hit cancel, and then I had like 10 duplicates. So.
Yeah. So we need to call dismiss after we call delegate.addFriend. Just call that same dismiss that you have in cancel. I forgot to add that.
Hey, Johnny. When I tried to add myself on here, when I click on the details, nothing's changing on there. Are we still missing that step?
Yeah, that's what we're going to do with the last like 20 minutes.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, we haven't done anything with the detailed view controller yet. All right, Aaron, where did you need me to go?
It was the add friend view controller. Yeah, that right there, the hobby. I typed something wrong here.
Okay.
Hey, Johnny, how do you close your simulator when you're done with it? Because it always takes me to the app.delegate.swift file, and it gives me like a thread error whenever I close, like click on the X to close it.
Yeah, so at least to avoid that, you can just make sure you stop simulator. So if you hit the little stop button in the top left here, or generally if I'm done with simulator, I just Command Q when I have simulator open. But that will still cause like the little crash, but that's just because you've disconnected the simulator from Xcode. So yeah, if you hit the stop button, then you shouldn't see that. Did you get it figured out, Aaron?
No, but it's okay. We can move on. I'll come back to it later.
Okay. Or do you want to just share your screen real quick?
Yeah.
Just while the rest of the people come back, while we wait for them. Let's see. Hobby1 equals hobby1 text field, use of unresolved identifier hometown. That looks like it's. Oh, I see. Looks like we have an extra. Delete the brace on line 39. Let's see. Go up to your protocol that you created. Yeah, you need to update your function on line 18 to say new friend added, not new friend delegate.
Cool. Thanks.
Yep. All right, everyone, come on back. Come on back. Okay. So, oh, yes. Bronson reminded me that we are missing one thing. So on our save button tapped, as soon as we add a new friend, let's go ahead and dismiss ourselves. Okay. It's called dismiss, animated true, completion nil, right? Because we want to get the add friend view controller out of the way. Okay, so now if we run it, assuming my simulator works now. Come on, buddy. Simulator. Let's go. What? That is so weird. I don't even know when this updated, but it's doing bad things. Okay, well, for those of you whose simulator is not broken, let's go ahead and have you run. Click on the plus button to add a new friend, put in their name, hometown, put in some hobbies, and then you're going to click the save button, and you should see, assuming the delegate is set up properly, you should see that the table view then has the new friend that you just added. Okay, so go ahead and run that while mine is attempting to run, and then raise your hand if yours is working.
Could you slide your simulator over a little bit? I'm just trying to see. There we go. Thank you. I just missed that dismiss code.
Seriously, simulator, what is the deal?
Is it quicker to test a program through plugging in your phone and using that as a simulator?
Not necessarily, no. Simulator is nice. Like, the simulator installs pretty quickly. Okay, and then it started it started really fast here. Okay, so plus button. Boom, we get that nice little modal. Modal. Okay, name. Johnny, hometown, Provo, Utah. Let's do basketball. Coding. We'll just leave it at that. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and hit the save button. We should see that now we have a new thing added to our table, right? Let's go ahead and add another one here. Let's do Jimmy from SLC. He likes to hacky sack. Okay, hit save. Boom, we got Jimmy. Let's add another one. Miguel, hometown, forum, hobby. He likes to play football.
Whenever I hit the add button, it minimizes and I get some weird stuff popping up.
It minimizes, huh?
The simulator will minimize, and then on my Xcode, it goes to one of my the name text field outlet, and it says thread 1 breakpoint 1.6, and then I don't know, it changed a bunch of things.
Yeah, so I think it's just about to crash. So we'll look at it in just a sec.
Okay.
All right, let me save that. Okay. Yeah, let's take a look, Michael. Let me stop my share here if you want to share your screen. Okay. Oh, yeah, just because you have a breakpoint set. So go ahead and that little blue tag that you have there in the gutter of line 28.
Oh, 28.
Yeah, just so the little like blue like bookmark looking thing, they're like at line, sorry, not line 28, line 30. I can't count.
Oh.
Just go ahead and like click on that and then drag it to the side, like drag it off. There you go. Somehow breakpoint got set there. So
all right.
Now if you just hit the little continue button, it's down. I wish I could draw on the screen. But so like right above your right there. There you go. Yeah, just continue execution there.
All right. Thanks.
Cool. Yep. All right, I want to make sure that I finish on time. But are there any other questions? Are you guys seeing Xcode right now? Yeah, okay, cool. All right, so looking at the objectives really quick. So you should be able to understand and explain the delegate pattern and why it is used. You should be able to create a custom UITableView You should be able to use a regular UIViewController to display a UITableView. You should be able to use a segue to show a detail view when the table view cell is tapped. Okay, so that's the last thing that we're going to do here. Okay, because right now, if I go into Simulator here and I tap on this, right, nothing is updating. Okay, so what we need to do is let's hop back over to Xcode. And on our friend's table view controller, we're going to, so we've got our if here for the if segue identifier. Let's go ahead and write another else if. Else if segue.identifier is equal to, and then let's go and look at what the segue identifier is called between our table view and our detail view. Okay, so friend detail, we still have to do some code there, but that's all right. Okay, so the name of that segue then is show friend detail segue. So go ahead and copy that back to our table view. Okay, and before we do anything else here, let's stop and let's go ahead and implement our code in our friend detail view controller. Okay, but this is the code that we want to run, assuming we hit our detail view segue. Because anything that's is going to be in here. Okay, so let's go over to our friend detail view controller. We have our update views here. Okay, well again, we're going to be passing a friend object through whatever friend the user taps on. So let's create a variable for a friend of type friend. It's going to be optional. Okay, and then just like we did with our UITableViewCell, let's do the same thing in our update views here. So we're going to guard let friend equal self.friend else return. Sorry, weird spacing there. Okay, so then if we have a friend, then we're going to set name label dot name label dot text is going to be equal to friend dot name. Hometown label dot text is going to be equal to friend dot hometown. Okay, and then for our hobbies, this is going to be like a higher level function. But what I want to do is I want to like print out my hobbies, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to say hobby list text view dot text is equal to my friend dot hobbies dot joined. Okay. And we're going to separate these by a comma space. Okay, so what this is going to do, it's going to take all of the elements in my array and it's going to put them all together into a single string separated by commas. Okay. So friend.hobbies.joined with a separator, comma, space. Okay. And then in view.load here, let's go ahead and call update views. Okay, when you're caught up to this point, let's have you raise your hand. Yeah, so this is pretty much the same as our custom table view cell, right? We're just calling update views as soon as our friend is set, right? And then I can even add, if I want, I could put a did set on here and also call update views there. That's fine too, either one. So view did load or did set. Okay. So again, now that I have a friend property on my detail view, now I can pass that from the table view to the detail view via prepare for segue. Okay, so let's go back to our table view controller. And we're gonna say if let detail vc equals segue dot destination as our friend detail view controller, and let index path equal, and we want to get the index path for whatever row the user tapped on. Okay, so whatever friend they tapped on, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna say table view dot index path for selected row. Okay, so if I have those two things, then I can create a friend object by accessing the friend at my given index path dot row. Okay, and then I can set detail vc dot friend is equal to friend. Okay, so pretty similar to what we have in like our cell for row at. Is I get the friend object by using the index path for the row that the user tapped on, and then that's the friend that I'm going to pass over to the detail view. Okay, so now if I run it, okay, we haven't set up any form of persistence, so all of the friends that I added have been cleared out. That's expected. Okay, we save that. So you should be able to click on this. Oh no, what did I do? Let's see. I have probably set something up wrong. Sorry guys, I should have checked my starter project because I deleted a bunch of stuff with the starter project, and then that probably caused some issues. So let me just verify a few things here. Name label, hometown label, hobby list, text view. Probably what's happening is, oh, I know what's happening. Sorry, don't do this did set here. I'm trying to access the name label before my view has even been loaded. So actually we're just gonna leave this at update views here inside of view did load. I only want it to do that as soon as our view has loaded up. Sorry, it works in the case of our table view cell because our table view cell is already loaded up and good. But in this case here, I'm setting the friend on my detail view before it's actually on screen. And if it's not on screen, then the like labels and whatnot don't exist yet. Okay, so let's try this again. Johnny, Prolo, basketball, and coding. Save. Okay, and you should see that it populates now with the name, hometown, and then the hobbies should be separated by a comma. Okay, so if yours is working, let's have you let's put your hands down and then raise them again.
Johnny,
Can I see where you added the segue again?
Yes. Let's see. Right there. Okay, so that's everything for this application. Okay, so we're good. We're done. You can go ahead and you can commit it and push it if you want to have it on your remote repository. And I will zip this up and send it to all of you so that you have it for reference if needed. And then we're done a little bit early. So for those of you who feel good about our learning objectives for today, which again were being able to use a segue to show a detail when the table view is tapped, being able to use a regular UIViewController to display a UITableView, and being able to understand and explain the delegate pattern, why it's used, and then being able to create a custom UITableViewCell. Okay, if you feel good about all of those things, you're welcome to get started on your homework. So Samira, or yeah, it looks like just Samira is the only one here as part of the SLTL group. So Samira, if you wouldn't mind posting the homework, you guys are welcome to get started on that. And then I will stay to answer questions. Now before you do go, you have your sprint challenge this week, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, depending on whatever your 5th day is. I'm going to provide an optional review session tomorrow at 6 p.m. Lambda time, okay? So the reason it is optional is because it is going to be during your homework time. So you are still responsible to get your homework done, okay? So if you feel like an hour away from having your homework time is gonna make it so that you can't get your homework done, then do not come to my review session. But if you are able to get some stuff done tonight and you feel confident that you'll have all of your homework done and you want to, then tomorrow I will do a review session from 6 to 7. Again, completely optional, but just an opportunity. We're gonna go through, kind of like we did at the end of Unit 1, I'm gonna go through all of the learning objectives for this module, and we'll just go through step by step, and we'll talk about anything that's confusing. So come with questions, look over the learning objectives yourselves. If there are things that are confusing to you, write them down. And then we'll just have kind of an hour-long review session to go over anything, just so that you guys feel more prepared for the sprint challenge. Okay, so for those of you who are good and happy and all is working and well, you're welcome to go, and I'll see you either tomorrow on my review session or next week. And then the rest of the time is up to you guys to ask any questions or to share your screen and let me help you out. So.
Hey Johnny, can I see the friends table view controller again? I'm getting an error, but I think I may have made a typo.
Yeah, let's see here.
So I'm not quite understanding why I'm getting this error, but it says value of type of friends table view controller has no member friend.
Do you have your friends array up here?
Or yeah, oh actually,
Yeah, I have the same.
I technically do, but I'm not sure because from the one that I have is var friends and the array of friends, but it's not an empty array. Should I erase the things that I have there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, clear that out. But that shouldn't be what's giving you an error. Do you want to share your screen with me real quick?
Yeah, I think I found it.
Oh, okay. Bowden, did you say you had the same issue? Do you want to share your screen real quick?
Yeah. Can you see it?
I cannot actually. I see your desktop. That's all that I can see. Okay. Detail view controller. All right, so go over to your friend's detail view controller.
Where is it at? Friends.
In your project navigator, you're going to go to your detail view controller, your friend detail view controller. I mean, you do have a friend object on there. Okay, go back to your table view. What am I? Oh, else. Oh, line 24, it should be, you're not conditionally downcasting to friends table view controller, you're conditionally downcasting to friends detail.
Wait, to what am I downcasting?
Your friend detail view controller. So probably omit the S, take the S out.
No.
Friend detail view controller. There you go.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. All right, any other questions?
Just
Yeah,
a
I have
quick
a
one.
question.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay. So just to clarify, a delegator relays information, a delegate receives, correct?
Correct.
And so therefore the delegator is only created on something that's passing information.
Yeah, for the purposes of like how far we are into the course, yeah.
Okay.
All right, Ian, what's up?
Yeah, I was just wondering, want to make sure that I didn't miss something here. When we reopened, because I know we added a bunch of contacts, and if we hit save, it shows on the screen on the simulator. When we close the simulator, then when we reopen it, none of the new contacts are there. That's supposed to be happening. We haven't built anything in that actually holds that saved value.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, so next module is when we're going to be talking about persistence, so how to actually save data across launches.
Gotcha. Okay, then it's working perfect. Thanks.
Sweet. Nice work. Okay, Sammy, did you get yours working?
Yes, thank you, Johnny.
Cool.
It was the same issue. It was I didn't have the detail view.
Oh, okay, cool.
Hey, Johnny, I'm missing a bracket somewhere, and I just can't figure out where it's at.
Okay.
I'm sure it's super simple.
All right, you want to share your screen?
Yeah, doing it right now.
Okay. Else if identifier.
Well,
After if condition, if let details, the index path for selected row. Go ahead and do a Command B again.
It's weird. It went away.
I don't know. Just it hadn't recompiled for some reason. So.
Okay. All right. Cool. Thank you.
Yep.
Have a good one, Johnny.
Yeah, we'll talk to you later, man.
Thank you, Johnny. Have a good night.
Okay, we'll see ya. Anything else, Bowden? You good?
Seems like it, yeah. Do you know, is there anything else kind of better to dig in this? Because I have a kind of hard time understanding, I would say probably the logic behind it. Like when they present in the homework for me, I'm kind of losing myself where I supposed to start beginning, like, and what order goes what.
Are you talking about for the delegates, or are you talking about just like creating an app in general?
In general, I mean, I kind of understand the method of the delegates and what it does, but like, you know, it's kind of hard to tell from which point to start and like how the data be like, you know, going from one thing to another thing, and so it would like, you know, combine all of it together.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, I don't have anything like specific to point you to towards that. It really is just a matter of like practicing and learning to get into that mindset. And then you'll come up with like your own process of how you like to build apps. So I like to set up the storyboards first, so I know like what my app is supposed to look like. And then from there, I like to set up like the model of, you know, what kind of object do I need to be passing around in order to get the information around. And then from there, like usually, at least for what we've covered up to this point, like your initial view controller is going to be like what is like going to be your like central data source for all of your information. Just like we had our friends array like on our table view controller. Although we'll move into like putting that in a better spot later. But yeah, just like having everything like initialized on like your first view, and then you only need to pass it if you're navigating to somewhere else. You only need to pass information if you're navigating. So
got it. And I had my last question is, so what is this did set when we create a variable?
Yeah, so a did set is just giving you what we call like a closure, or it's just like an opening of what code do you want to run when we set the value, when we call the setter, when we set the value of this property, do run this code, right? And so in our case, we're saying, hey, as soon as friend has a value, update the labels with the data from our friend object. So it's just providing an opening to run code as soon as the value has been set.
Got it. Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Cool. All right.
Have a good day. Thank you.
Yeah, you too. We'll see ya. All right, Kenneth, do you have anything? You good?
I'm good. I just like to stay just in case you go over something that I could use. So I like to stay till the end.
Okay, cool. Sounds good. Well, we'll see you later. All right.
All right. See ya.
Yep. Take care. Bye.